Hey everyone, and welcome to Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of this Peanuts Snoopy crochet kit that I got from Five Below. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, we're going to continue where we left off. In part 1, we have completed the head, the ears, the nose, and we sewn on the mouth and the eyes and closed it up. If you have not seen that video, go ahead and check it out. I save all my videos into playlists. I have playlists for Five Below, I have playlists for crocheting, so either one of those. Today we're going to be working on the body and we're going to see how far we get. I'm hoping to get this all done in a 2-part video, but obviously if it takes longer, I'm just going to have to make 3 parts. So, due to the copyright, I can't share the details and the instructions. If you want to make this Snoopy, I highly recommend that you go to your local Five Below or go on their website. What I do on my channel is I pretty much teach you how to read and understand the instructions. I also go through each new stitch at least 3 times, step by step. Thereafter, I go at my own pace. If you need to speed up or slow down the video, go ahead and click the gear button in the corner there. There's playback options to go fast or slow. If you don't need to hear me talk, you can lower the volume on your device and click on the CC closed caption button. Alright, so let's get started with the body. We are going to be using the white yarn. And we're going to be starting off with a magic ring. So let me show you how to make a magic ring. We're going to take the yarn and you're going to wrap it around your finger at least 3 times, like that. Have a little overage so you could put your middle finger right on top, and then from here you can straighten out, tighten up, or loosen up your strands as you need it, because we're going to slip our crochet hook underneath the 3 strands. Alright, from here we're going to pull this back. We're going to hook this strand and pull it underneath these 2. So hook it, turn your hook sideways, and then pull it underneath the 2 strands. So that's going to keep you from hooking the other ones. But this is what it's going to look like now. What you want to do is do a yarn over. So a yarn over, that's putting the feeder yarn over the hook. We're going to hook that and you're going to pull it through the loop to close that off. And then you're going to let go of your middle finger and you're going to slide off the rings off your index. So you should have something that looks like this. Okay? So now we're going to do round 1. Uh-oh, I have a knot in my little ball of yarn here. And that might happen from time to time. Okay, I think I got it. Sometimes you just need an extra little tug on it. But anyway, so let's learn how to do a single crochet stitch. Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to take your hook and we're going to put it through these loops. Then we're going to yarn over. So take the feeder yarn and put it over the hook. We're going to hook it and pull it through those loops. So now we have 2 loops on our hook. Then you're going to yarn over again, put the yarn over the hook, and we're going to hook it and you're going to pull through those 2 loops, 1 and 2. And that is a single crochet stitch. We have a front loop here and we have a back loop here. Alright, let's do another one. Stick your hook into the loops. We're going to yarn over, put your yarn over the hook, then we're going to hook it and pull it through the loops. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull this through both loops off your hook, and now we've created another single crochet stitch. Again, we have a front loop here and we have a back loop here. All right, let's do one more time with you guys. Stick your hook into the loops. We're going to yarn over. You're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Then you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So now we have 3 single crochet stitches. We have our front loops here, our back loops here. If we look at it on top, it looks like a braid. All right. So now that I've shown you how to do a single crochet stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can go ahead and rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing single crochet stitches on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the remaining single crochet stitches for this round. So I just wanted to also mention, if you see the parentheses at the end of each round, it shows you the stitch count. So however you do your stitches, just make sure after every round when you count it, it matches the same number that the instructions have. Okay? Alright, so when you are done with all your stitches for round 1, the magic part of the ring is to close it. So right now we have this huge hole, and we're going to make it disappear with magic. So overhand your hook, and I'm going to let go of this feeder yarn here. Wow, this yarn that they gave me has, I don't even know what that is, straw? It's probably packing straw or something. Anyway, all right. So what we're gonna do after you overhand your hook, you're gonna want to hold your stitches right at the bottom here, and you don't want to pinch it too tight, just enough to stabilize your project. Then we're going to take our feeder yarn and you're going to kind of tuck that to the back. We don't need that right now, so let's just focus, while my camera's trying to focus, on these 2 loops and this excess piece right here. So what we have to do is make these 2 loops go inside the magic ring. And to do that, I'm going to pull on the excess piece and we're going to look very closely to see which loop goes inside first. So pull it, and then stop when you see which one is moving. Alright, so this one down here is the one that went in first. Yours could be different, but what we're going to do is pull this end out of that loop that went in. Okay, so don't bother with this side. Pull it out on this side. So pick up that loop, and we're going to carefully pull that end out. And as you're doing that, you're going to see the other end go in. We're going to keep pulling until it's gone entirely into the magic ring. So now we just have to deal with this right here. So take your excess piece and we're going to pull that, and you're going to see the other loop disappear. So this might take a little tugging. Right, I do have lotion on. Alright, to make sure that this hole is very nice and snug and closed, I'm going to pull in the opposite direction and a little up. You can feel it give, but just a little bit. You don't have to pull too hard, but that's going to ensure that that hole is gone in its entirety. So from here, what they don't give you that I mentioned in the first video are these handy dandy stitch markers. These are helpful to mark each round so you can keep a stitch count, and then when you start repeating rows that have the same instructions, it's going to help you keep track of the rows. So what I'm going to do is take my stitch marker and I'm going to place it under the front and back loops of the last stitch I made. So under the front loop and under the back loop, and you want to make sure that you didn't pierce your yarn. So how you can check is flip it to the back side, pull your stitch marker. If you can see a nice clean opening like that, that means you got it good. If it's all fuzzy and filled with yarn in there, then you must have split the yarn. So we can close this off and we're going to start round 2. Alright, so the thing about round 2, or trying to do anything after round 1, is that the stitches are a little bunched because we pulled it. So what you want to do is just count back the number of stitches we needed for round 1 and then you're going to place your hook in that stitch. That's how you find out where to put it. And like I said, because we bunched it to pull while pulling that excess piece, it might be a little hard to put your hook in, but you should be able to. If you keep your hand underhand while you stitch, your stitches should be loose enough for you to fit the hook in. If it's not, you have to loosen up your tension so that your stitches aren't too tight. Okay, so now we're going to do round 2, and we're going to learn a new stitch. This one is INC, and it stands for increasing stitch. And this can stand for many different kinds of stitches, but it's pretty much going to be double the stitch in one stitch. So what I mean by that is I stuck my hook into this stitch here. We're going to be doing 2 single crochet stitches in here. So for this project, it's single crochet stitches. In another project, it could be double crochet stitches. Just letting you be aware that increasing stitch doesn't necessarily mean just single crochet. It just means 2 in 1. So we're going to do 1, yarn over, pull up a loop. This one is always going to be a little tighter than the other ones because we bunched it up in here. Yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's 1 single crochet stitch. Let's do another one. Stick your hook into that same stitch we just used. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So if we look closely, we have 1 stitch here, but out comes 1, 2 stitches. Alright, so we're doubling the single crochet stitches. So let's do this again. Stick your hook into the next stitch. This one should be easier to put your hook into. We're going to do 2 single crochet stitches in here. So yarn over and pull up a loop. So you have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Then put your hook into the same stitch. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So you have 1 stitch here, and out comes 2 single crochet stitches. Alright, so let's do this one more time with you guys. Stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochet stitches in here. Yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Then stick your hook back into that same stitch we just used, and we're going to do 1 more single crochet stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Again, 2 single crochet stitches coming out of this one. Like previously, we have our front loops and we have our back loops, and we look at it top side, it looks like a braid. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do the increasing stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing the increasing stitch on your own. I'm going to go ahead and finish the remaining stitches on this round, and again, you always want to check your stitch count. That's that number inside the parentheses. But once I'm done, we're going to come back in and work on round 3. Alright, so once you've reached all, completed all the stitches you need to, I'm just going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to replace it under the last stitch we made, front and back loops. So slip it under the front and back loop, check to see if you've split the yarn, okay, and then close it up. And now we're going to work on round 3. So for round 3, we have something a little bit different now. We have a parenthesis with more instruction. And how to handle these, because right now it's not terrible. We only have 2 different kinds of stitches inside these parentheses, but as we go on into the instruction like we did in part 1, sometimes it gets very overwhelming with all the instructions inside parentheses, and then you have more stitches either before and or after the parentheses. So let's break it down by section. So when you read a parenthesis, it means we pretty much are going to focus on what's inside here, but more likely we're probably going to repeat everything that's inside the parenthesis. And sure enough, for round 3, we have our parenthesis with an X and then a number. So that means we're going to repeat it that many times. So let's just forget about that part for now. Let's focus on what's inside the parenthesis. So I like to focus on stitches before the comma, so let's just do that. We're focusing on single crochet stitches. So you're going to do your single crochet stitches, and then the next part after the parenthesis is, after the comma, is increasing stitches. So that kind of simplifies it and makes you realize, okay, inside this parenthesis, I'm going to do single crochet stitches and increasing stitches, and I'm going to repeat this X number of times. Alright, so let's do 1. So do all your single crochet stitches and increasing stitches, and I'm going to say repeat when I have to repeat, so that you know you just have to repeat it. I try to really break it down, even though I don't think it needs to be, but let's do it anyway. So I'm going to repeat this again. Start from the beginning. Okay, and then one more time for you guys. Let's repeat this. Alright, and now that we went through that, I can go finish the rest of this round. And then of course you are going to 2 on your end. And then we'll come back in and we're going to look at round 4. Alright. So again, you can go count your stitches to make sure you have the right counts. That's the number inside the parentheses at the end of each round. But I'm going to go ahead and take my stitch marker and I'm going to place it under the last stitch I made, front and back loops. Okay, checking it. Alright, so now for round 4. It's pretty much the same concept of these parentheses. Right now it's not that lengthy, so that's good. But now we have numbers in front of the abbreviations. So what that means is those are going to be separate stitches. Okay. So the first part of single crochet stitches, it's I have had people comment and ask me, does that mean it's an increasing stitch? No, it doesn't. If you have a number with an abbreviated stitch, you have to do them separately, 1, 2, in separate stitches. Okay? And then the increasing stitch is entirely different. You do 2 in 1 stitch, not separated. Okay, so let's do that now. And then I'll let you know when I'm repeating. Repeat. Repeat. And repeat. So I'm just going to finish the rest of this. Try not to split your yarn. The quality isn't that great, so there is a tendency for the hook to go in between the strands, which is very annoying, but just try to work with it and try to keep it neat, because if you ever have to undo some stitches because you caught a mistake or something, it's going to be really hard for you to pull that yarn out if you accidentally split the yarn and made a stitch through it. Alright, again, count your stitches. After the end of the round, I'm going to replace my stitch marker under the last stitch I made. And then for round 5, we've got something real simple. So we're just going to be working our single crochet stitches. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And when I come back in, we're going to do round 6, and I'm going to introduce a new stitch. Alright, once you finish that round, replace the stitch marker. So now for round 6, we have pretty much the same thing going on here. We have a parenthesis. We're going to repeat it X number of times. Inside the parenthesis, we have 2 different kinds of stitches. The first one has a number in front of it, so they're all going to be separate stitches. And then after the comma, we have a DEC, and that stands for decreasing stitch. So a decreasing stitch is pretty much the opposite of an increasing. So for the increasing, if we did 2 single crochet stitches out of 1, we're gonna pretty much take 2 stitches and turn it to 1 single crochet stitch. And I'll show you, of course, how to do that 3 times. So let's start off by doing our single crochet stitches, and then I'll show you how to do a decreasing stitch. Alright, so to do a decreasing stitch, you're going to put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop so you have 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to take your hook and put it into the next stitch over. Then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop so you have 3 loops. And then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. So that is a decreasing stitch. We just took 2 separate stitches and made only 1 single crochet stitch. Alright, and of course I'll show you that 2 more times. So let's repeat our parenthesis. Alright, so stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull up a loop so you have 2 loops. Then stick your hook into the next stitch over, yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops. Then you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. Alright, so we took 2 single crochet stitches and we made only 1 single crochet stitch. Alright, let's repeat this parenthesis with you guys one more time. Alright, you're going to stick your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 2 loops, then put your hook into the next stitch over. We're going to yarn over and pull up a loop so we have 3 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do a decreasing stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing decreasing stitches on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this round, and we'll talk about the remaining rounds. Just to let you know that this project is naturally curling inward, and that's okay. The only problem is it's curling in the wrong way. And you can tell because we have our magic ring excess piece just sticking out here, and that's unsightly. So what you can do is we're going to invert this. I'm going to flip this inside out. So push in the center and flip out the edges so that you flip it inside out. You can tuck away this excess piece. That will act as like more stuffing. Sometimes they don't give you enough stuffing, but this is what it should look like now. Alright, so I'm going to finish the rest of this. Okay, and then I'm going to replace my stitch marker. Alright, so now let's talk about round 7. Round 7 seems simple enough. It's going to be single crochet stitches. Now, the remaining rounds, you guys, are pretty much the same deal here. I've taught you how to do the single crochet stitches, the increasing stitches, and the decreasing stitches. I've shown you how to read the parentheses and then how to do the stitch count at the end to make that match those numbers. So I'm going to come in after round 12. I feel like maybe earlier. We'll see how big, because this hole here is just going to get smaller and we have to stuff it. So I might stop somewhere before round 12 if it gets too small for me. Sometimes I feel like they have you get it so small and then you have to stuff all the stuffing in this small hole when you can do it already while it's open like this, you know what I mean? Alright, so I'm just gonna do round 7 through 12 in silence. If I have to pop in beforehand to stuff, I'll pop back in. But that will be it in silence. Alright, so here is the body so far. I have rounds 11 and 12 to go, and look how tiny that hole is. So I'm not going to push it any further. I'm going to start stuffing this. When you stuff, you want to cut it into little pieces or pull it into little pieces. That way you can better direct where you want these pieces to go. Sometimes when you put a whole clump, it might gather in one area and it's going to be lopsided. So then when you try to manipulate it to get it to where you want it to go, it's going to be harder if it's all in one piece. And then of course stuff as you to the firmness that you desire. And then we can always add more as we go after we finish the two rounds to fill in that little bit extra. Oh no. All right. Well, yeah, no. I was gonna try to do it the way I did in part 1, where I sewed all the, like the ears and the nose and the eyes and the mouth before I stuffed it, but I am not sure, so it's easy to tell the way that it was constructed because you can see the snout and the head. Here, I'm not exactly sure. I'm assuming this is the neck, but I just want to make sure that it is going to be the neck. So I'm just going to fill this first, and then I'll have to sew on the arms and the legs after. So it's going to be a little bit harder to hide the knots, but it is doable. At any rate, they have you assemble at the very end anyway, so. But whenever you can, try to sew all your pieces together before stuffing, because not only does that yarn add to the stuffing, like I said, you can also hide it easier and make your knots easier. It's a little harder to do when it's outside of the cavity. I'm not sure how much I want to put in this. Alright. Okay, but I am going to do the remaining 2 rows now. And then when we come back in, I'm going to just stuff the little bits. And I'm going to show you how to fasten off. Alright, so I finished up the rounds. Now I'm going to show you how to fasten off. So we're pretty much going to do something we call a slip stitch, which is one of the simplest stitches in crocheting. So what you're going to do is stick your hook into the next stitch here. Then we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull this through all the loops off your hook. And that is a slip stitch. Very simple, right? So now what we have to do is cut enough tail for sewing. So I'm going to wrap the yarn around the opening very generously at least 2 times. And then I'm going to cut this off. And then we're going to yarn over and pull through the loop all the way out, and we're going to pull on this tail to tighten up that loop and turn it into a knot, and then we're going to sew the head onto the body. Oh, it's going to look so cute. Alright, so get your plastic sewing needle, thread it up. Alright, so it doesn't indicate where, so we're just gonna look in the box and we're just gonna kind of guess. So if we see here, if we say like, okay, here's the nose, we're gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say we sew it on 9 rows from the nose. Alright, so we'll look this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we have to kind of gauge the center. So if this is the mouth here, the center would actually be somewhere here. And then of course I lost my spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so we're going to be sewing this right here. And then you're just going to sew this all the way around. Okay, and then when you're back around, we're going to tie our knot. And then what I'm going to do is stick the needle right where that excess piece comes out, and then I'm going to go through some random spot on the other side here, pull through, then we're going to cut this flush to the surface, and then you can squeeze it to make that end disappear. But now we have the head attached to the body. Hopefully that stays like upright, because it's a little top heavy there. All right, so next we're going to end up doing the arms, the tail, the collar, the legs. Now for the parts that have two, I'm going to make the second one off camera. But we're going to move on to the arms. Alright, so let's do the arms. We're going to work with a magic ring. So this will be the second time I'm showing you guys. We're going to wrap the yarn around our finger at least 3 times with a little bit of overage, so you can put your middle finger right on there. Then you can take this opportunity to straighten out your strands, loosen or tighten them up as you need, because we're going to slip our crochet hook underneath these 3 strands, and then we're going to pull this back and pull it underneath these 2 strands. But to do that, we're going to hook this first strand here, turn the hook to its side, so that when you pull it under the other 2, you don't accidentally hook those strands as well. So you'll have something that looks like this. Then we're going to yarn over, so put your feeder yarn over the hook, and then we're going to hook this feeder yarn through the loop, hook it, and then pull it through the loop like that. So now that this is nice and closed, you can remove the middle finger, you can remove the rings off your index, and we're going to start doing our single crochet stitches. So we know what the single crochet stitch looks like, so let's go ahead and do the single crochet stitches for round 1. And then make sure to count your stitches at the end of each round. That's the number inside the parentheses at the end of each round. All right, once you've completed all the stitches, we're going to overhand our hook. So take your hand and put it over the hook. We're going to hold the end stitches down here with your index and thumb. We're going to hold our feeder yarn back in a way so that we don't get confused with that. We're just going to focus on this excess piece here and these 2 loops right here. So what we have to do is close this up. You start from a big opening like this, and then the magic ring closes it all together. So to do that, we're going to pull on this excess piece, and there was a comment asking about how to keep it from bunching up, and this is exactly how you do it to keep it from bunching. You're going to pull on this excess piece. We're going to see which loop goes in, and then you're going to stop pulling. All right, so I already see that this back one is moving. It might be different for you, but what we're going to do now is you're going to pull this end of that loop out. Don't bother with this area. We're focusing on just this one. So take that loop and pull that side out, and as you're doing that, the other loop is going to go in. So keep pulling until that other loop is completely gone into your magic ring. You might need a little bit of elbow grease in this pull here, but once that's all gone, then we can focus on getting rid of this loop. So go ahead and grab your excess piece here, and then we're going to pull on this so that the other loop goes in, and you're going to pull it till it disappears completely into the magic ring. Now you might have a little hole here right there. What you want to do is make sure you have every bit of this excess piece pulled. So we're going to pull in the opposite direction and a little up, and you're going to feel a little movement. It's going to be probably the smallest. You stop pulling, you don't have to pull too hard, but that's going to close that hole entirely, so that hole is completely gone. Alright, so now from here I'm gonna go get my stitch marker, and we're gonna mark off the last stitch that we made, and then we're gonna work into round 2. So for round 2 we have a set of parentheses, and inside we're working with single crochet stitches and increasing stitches, and we're repeating this parenthesis the number of times that the round 2 tells us to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, but again, if you're ever feeling confused as to where to put your hook next, because after the first round everything bunches, so it's really hard to see where the next stitches, at least for me. So what you're going to do is count back the number of stitches required for round 1, starting from the stitch marker down. So let's do that now, and that last stitch is where you put in your hook. And after the first round it may be a little difficult to fit your hook in there, and that's okay. Just try to fish your way in there. Alright, and then we're going to complete round 2. Alright, so double check your stitch count, but I'm going to take the stitch marker now and we're going to replace it under the last stitch we made. And we're going to work through rounds 3 through 6. So this stitch marker is going to stand for round 3. I'm going to get more stitch markers, 4, 5, 6. And I always like to count twice, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for round 3 through 6, we're going to be doing the same instructions over and over again, and it's a whole bunch of single crochet stitches. So I'm actually going to do rounds 3 through 6 in silence, and then we'll come back in, we'll talk about the next rounds. Alright, so I completed rounds 3 through 6. I did invert this inside out because it was bothering me the way that it was curling in. And you always want to invert this the right side out, and you can tell with the magic ring excess piece inside the project, not outside sticking out. Alright, so the next part we're going to do here is round 7, and it's going to be doing single crochet stitches and decreasing stitches. In fact, that's going to be the rest of the way for round 7 through 9. Now, I'm just going to do this with you guys. I mean, I might not talk much because we're going to have to stuff this, and I'm not sure yet at what round I want to stuff it at. You could stuff it right now, actually. Maybe that's what we should do. Because you know that I don't like to stuff when the hole's so small. It's really hard to stuff. So let's at least fill some in right now. And what you could do to make the arms, the second arm the same, if you grab this amount of stuffing to start, grab the same amount of stuffing okay, and set it aside for the second arm. That way you can get close to having the same stuffness. If you don't do that, you're just gonna have to base it off of memory or touch, and that's not always accurate. So all right, that's, I think, is actually good enough for now. Yikes. So 3 more rounds. We may need a little bit more stuffing to fill those rounds in, but I think we're doing okay so far with what we have. And we're just going to complete these stitches. Oh no, I have to feed the little beast. Alright, let me just finish this round here. It's probably gonna run up in a few minutes, tell me hello. You heard that, right? Right? Yeah, I heard it. Oh, I did that way wrong. Alright. You know what to do. Oh, he's not running up. That's odd. Since he's not running up, I'm just gonna finish the rest. And then I'll feed him after. Okay, and this is going to be the last one. All right. So we're going to finish this off with a slip stitch. So go into the next stitch. Okay, we're going to do a slip stitch, so yarn over, pull through all the loops off your hook, and then we're going to fasten off. You're going to go grab some feeder yarn. You're going to generously go around the opening 2 times, and then we're going to trim it off. This is going to give you probably more than enough yarn to sew the arm to the body. And I'm realizing, looking at the photo, they did say fill lightly, because it looks like the arm close to the body is flat. So I think this is perfect then. Filling just this much up till the 6th round, I think is good enough. You could always squish it out to kind of get it up there, but I think I'm just going to keep it like this. Now we're going to fasten off. So we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through the loop all the way out, and then we're going to tighten this up to make that loop into a knot. And we've pretty much finished one arm. So again, I'm going to do the second arm and leg off camera. So we're just going to move on to the tail for now. Alright, so for the tail, I fed him. So for the tail, we're going to do another magic ring. This will be the third time that I'll be doing the magic ring. So we're going to wrap this around our finger at least 3 times with a little bit of overage to put your middle finger right on top of it like that. We're going to straighten out our strands, loosen it or tighten it up as you need. We're going to take our crochet hook and slip it underneath the 3 strands. Then we're going to take this strand and pull it underneath these 2. So hook it, turn your hook sideways so that when you pull it underneath the other 2 strands, you don't accidentally scoop it up as well. Now that we're having something like this, we're going to do a yarn over, and we're going to pull it through the loop. All right, so you can let go of your middle finger and then slip the rings off your index, and then we're going to be working our single crochet stitches. So go ahead and do those. Alright, so from here we are going to overhand the hook. We're going to pinch the bottom stitches not too tightly. Then take your feeder yarn and hold it back with your middle finger here. We're going to focus on the loops and this excess piece. Again, we're going to pull the excess piece to see which one of these 2 loops goes inside the magic ring first. So pull that. So I'm seeing that this back loop had moved, so we're going to pull this side out of that loop. So this is the loop that moved. We're going to pull this end out, and we're going to watch the other loop go inside the magic ring. Keep pulling this end out until that loop has gone completely inside the magic ring. Alright, once you have that, we can start pulling this excess piece to get rid of this loop. So go ahead and pull that. And then, to make sure that this hole is completely closed, we're going to pull in the opposite direction and a little up. You're going to feel it give a little bit. Alright, you don't have to pull it too hard. So then we're done here. The hole should be completely gone. Alright, so now I'm just going to mark up the last stitch I made, and then we can start round 2. Alright, so for round 2 we're doing single crochet stitches. So again, if you're having a hard time finding where to put your hook next, you can start from your stitch marker and count back the number of stitches that were required for round 1. And that's going to be where you stick your hook. Again, for the first round, it's always going to be a little difficult trying to shimmy your hook into the stitch because we did kind of pull it and bunch it into a circle. Okay. But I'm just going to continue my single crochet stitches. I lost a strand here. All right. So as this starts curling inward, you want to make sure that you do have the right side facing out. So whenever that happens, you could always flip it inside out. I'm going to replace this stitch marker into the last stitch we made, and we're going to work on round 3. So for round 3, we have some single crochet stitches and increasing stitches back to single crochet stitches. So go ahead and go to those. Alright, so after you finish that was the last round anyway. We're going to remove the stitch marker, and I'm going to flip this inside out. You can tuck that excess piece inside there. That's going to contribute to your stuffing, so you're not having to use too much stuffing. But it says we're going to do a slip stitch. So let's do that. You're going to stick your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through everything off the hook. And then we have to fasten off. So go around the opening at least 2 times generously. And then we're going to cut this off. And then to fasten off, you're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through the loop all the way out, and we're going to pull on this tail to tighten up that loop and turn it into a knot. And it didn't say to stuff, but this is going to need stuffing. So let's see down in the yeah, it doesn't say. I feel like it needs stuffing though, no? Maybe not. We'll just leave that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is the collar. So go ahead and get your red right here. We're going to have to unravel this. Okay. I have a container that I usually use to hold this. Alright. So for the collar, we're going to do something entirely different. We're not doing a magic ring, we're going to do straight rows. So, what you need to do is cast on with a slip knot. So what I'm going to do is take my ring pinky and thumb and hold one end. Then I'm going to take my index and middle and hold the other end apart like this. So this side you're going to pinch real tight. This side you can leave a little loose. We're going to take our 2 fingers here and we're going to push up and turn down into a loop. Then we're going to take our middle finger and index finger and we're going to grab on the feeder yarn and pull through the loop, creating this knot. So we have this huge knot here. It's just curling because the yarn was curling. But anyway, what we have to do is tighten up the knot, and we're going to tighten it by pulling on the feeder yarn. So this is my feeder yarn I've been holding. We're just going to pull it and try to make that knot towards your thumb. So as you're pulling, let's push this knot towards the thumb as best we can. Alright, because this is going to be the amount of waste we have. And if you just saw right there, I pulled it till I couldn't pull the feeder yarn anymore, but I want to make the knot nice and snug, so I took the excess piece and I just put a little tug on it to make sure that that knot was nice and snug. You don't have to pull it really hard, just enough to feel it give a little bit more. But now we're working with this huge loop, so to fix that, we're going to take the feeder yarn and we're going to hold the knot, pull on the feeder yarn and pull it till the loop is small enough to fit your crochet hook. Okay, then you can put your hook back into that little loop, and we're going to start working on the first instructions. And it looks like we're going to be doing one of the simplest stitches in crocheting. I don't believe we've gone through this one yet. So we're going to be doing a CH, which stands for chain. So let me show you how to do a chain. You're going to hold on to your knot right there like this to stabilize your project. We're going to yarn over, taking the feeder yarn over the hook, and we're going to pull the feeder yarn through this loop. So hook it, then pull it through the loop, and that is a chain stitch. Very easy. So you have one loop here, turn it on its side, and you have a back loop here that I call the back hump. Let's do another one. So take your feeder yarn, put it over your hook, then we're going to pull this through the loop. So hook it and then pull it through the loop, and now you have 2 chains. Each chain is made of 3 loops. You have 1 loop here, 1 loop on the other side. You turn it on its side, and this loop back here is the back hump. Alright, let's do this one more time with you guys. So we're gonna yarn over and we're gonna pull this feeder yarn through the loop, hook it, pull it through the loop, and so now you have 3 single crochet, 3 chains. And if you look at it top side, you can see that it looks like a braid. Each one is made of 3 loops. You have 1 on this side, 1 on the other side, and we turn it on its side. You can see the back hump right here. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do a chain stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can go ahead and rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing a chain stitch on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the remaining chain stitches required for this, and then we're going to talk about the next steps. Alright, so I finished doing all the chains here. Now it says we're going to be doing some single crochet stitches. Now this is pretty universal, any instruction that you have. What we're going to do next, like I said, we're working with rows now. As you know, it's not in a circle. We're doing rows, and we have to do the next row. But anytime you do a row coming off some chain stitches, we have to build the height of the row first. So this is going to be particular to a string of chains, but we're going to be working with single crochet stitches if you look further down into the instruction. And universally, a single crochet stitch has the height of 1 chain. So in the instructions, and again in any instruction you see in the crochet world, it's going to tell you to skip the first chain and then put your hook into the second one for a single crochet stitch. And the reason for that being, if we use this second stitch to do our single crochet stitch, this stitch right here will turn into a 90 degree and it will become the height. So you see, if I'm lifting this up at 90 degrees, it's building the height of the next row. So universally, if you ever do single crochet stitches with some chains here, you're always going to put it at the second chain from the hook. So you're not counting the one that's already on the hook, you're going to count the chain that we made from it. So here's 1, here's 2, and I shown you that each chain is made of 3 loops. We have 1 on each side here. I'm going to put my hook into the back hump. So if you turn your chains to the side, you can see the profile of the back hump. I'm going to go put my hook into that back hump of the second stitch, and I'm going to work my single crochet stitch. So if you notice, I'm utilizing this back hump. If I turn it upside down, I am preserving that braid so that we can keep a nice braid. And it looks like this collar is going to be exposed on both sides. So it's always nice to make it look pretty. So continue on with your single crochet stitch from here. And so let's take a look at it. We have our first single crochet stitch. We have our chain stitch right here that's making the height. And then we'll do this again because we pretty much have to do single crochet stitches all the way down. So I'll do this again with you guys. Into the next stitch, we're going to put this into the back hump, so turn it on its side. There's the back hump. Put your hook into that back hump and continue with your single crochet stitch. And so now we have 2 single crochet stitches. Let's do one more with you guys. So into the next stitch here, we have our braid, but turn on its side profile. You can see the back hump. I'm going to put my hook into that back hump, and I'm going to continue with my single crochet stitch, and that will complete 3 single crochet stitches off of these chains. Now to further show you what's happening here, you look at it top side, it looks like a braid. You flip on it upside down, and because we preserved the other loops, we have a braid on this side too. If we not done it that way, you're not going to see this. But anyway, that's why I like doing it. Okay, so now that I've shown you how to do that 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing single crochet stitches off of chains. But I'm going to go ahead and finish the remaining single crochet stitches required for this collar, and then I'll come back in and we'll talk about the next steps. Okay, make sure you don't split your yarn. I accidentally did that just now. The quality of yarn is going to make these strands a lot looser, so it's very easy to accidentally put your hook in and split the yarn. So just be mindful of that. Alright, for this last one here, we have this excess piece. I'm going to try to hide it. So what you're going to do is just lie this right across from the hook. Okay, and then we can start doing our single crochet stitch. And it's pretty long, so I didn't hide much, but you can just trim it off later. But that is that. So now what we're going to do is fasten this off. It says to leave a certain centimeter for the tail. You can measure that out, but I'll tell you right now, this is all the red that you're going to need. You don't need red again, so what I'm going to do to make sure I have enough red to do whatever it is they're going to tell us to do, I'm just going to go back and forth. You know, sometimes I do it 4 times, and then trim it. And then we're going to do our yarn over and pull through the loop to fasten this off all the way out. Then we're going to tighten this up. The loop is going to turn into a knot. Okay, so now the collar is done. So let's do the leg. Again, I'm going to make the second one off camera. We're going to start with some white. We are doing this a little differently. We're going to do it similar to what we did with the collar. So we're going to start with our ring, pinky, and thumb and hold one end. And then I'm going to take my index and middle finger and hold the other end. Okay. This we're going to keep tight. This one we can keep a little loose. I'm going to take 2 fingers and we're going to push this up and turn it down to create this huge loop. Then I'm going to take my middle finger and index finger and we're going to pull the feeder yarn through the loop, creating this huge knot. And we're going to tighten up this knot by pulling on the feeder yarn. So let's go ahead and do that. And when you pull that feeder yarn, try to pull it as close as you can to your left thumb here so that we don't waste too much yarn. You never know if they give enough yarn or not. My experience with this company is that they're getting better and better. I think it's been a long way since the Halloween kits where they didn't give me enough yarn for most of those kits, but they seem to be better now. So tighten up that knot just to make it sure that it's nice and snug. We're going to pull on this excess piece. You're going to feel a little tug. You don't have to pull it too hard. We don't want it like to go crazy, just enough to keep it nice and snug. Then we're going to hold on to the knot, and now we have to deal with this huge loop. So what we're going to do is take the feeder yarn and pull that until the loop is small enough to fit your crochet hook. Stick your hook into the loop, and we're going to start working on this leg. So like before with the collar, we're going to do some chain stitches. You know what it looks like, so let's go ahead and do that. And then once you've completed your chains, again, we're going to be working with single crochet stitches, so we have to build the height of the stitch. We're going to be putting our hook in the second chain from the hook. So here's 1, here's 2, and we're going to turn it on its side, and we're going to stick the hook into the back hump here. So go ahead and do that now. And we're going to be working our single crochet stitches. There's a bunch of them, so go ahead and do those. Again, if you need a refresher, you could always rewind the video back to the collar so that you can remember how to do these. Alright, and then for the last stitch here, we do have a cluster of single crochet stitches that we have to do. So stick your hook into that last chain stitch, and I'm going to try to tuck in this excess piece as well. So just lay that right across the hook like that, and we're going to continue making our single crochet stitches. We're going to be making them in this same stitch, so go ahead and do that. Alright, and then once we get that, it says we have to continue on the other side. So now we're going to be using the bottom stitches, and because I stuck my hook into the back hump, we've preserved the braids. So now it's pretty much easy to see where we're putting our hooks. So that's another benefit of doing the back humps. 1, you get to preserve the nice braid. 2, if you have to do stitches on this bottom row here that we started with, it's easy to know where to put our hooks. So we're going to be working the remaining of this length, and we're going to be doing single crochet stitches and increasing stitches. So go ahead and do those. I am still going to try to hide this little excess piece here, so lie it across the hook if you still have that issue, and just stitch around that until you've tucked away every piece of that excess piece. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a stitch marker under the last stitch we made to mark where this thing ends, because now we're going to be working around this thing. So it could get a little confusing, but I'll be working this with you. Alright, so now for round 2. We have a lot going on. It's going to be a little overwhelming, but we're going to walk through it. So I like to break things down in sections. What we did before in the beginning of this video is nothing compared to this one round. We have a bunch of new stitches and new stitches that we're going to do. So let's just focus first on what's between the commas. First part is single crochet stitches, so that we can do. Now, we are, like I said, going around in circles from the rows that we just made. So, yeah. If you're having difficulty finding out where you put your hook next, you can always count back your stitches. So like I said, at the end of every round there is a stitch count. So go ahead and count those stitches back. And the last stitch is where you put your hook in. And then we're going to do the first part of single crochet stitches. Okay. Then what we're going to learn how to do is double crochet stitches. And this is pretty much double the size of single crochet stitches, as you can imagine. So we're going to yarn over. You're going to put in your hook into the next stitch right here. Then we're going to yarn over. You're going to pull up a loop so you have 3 loops. Then you're going to yarn over. We're going to pull through those 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So it's pretty much double the size. We have our single crochet stitches, and this one is trying to stretch up to meet the double crochet stitch. Let's do another one. Yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over. You're going to pull up a loop so you have 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So you have 2 left. So we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. So let's do this one more time with you guys. So yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops and you have 2 left. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So now that I've shown you how to do a double crochet stitch at least 3 times step by step, you can go ahead and rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing a double crochet stitch on your own. But let's go, I'm going to go ahead into the next section here. So in the next section we're going to do an increasing stitch. But this one's a little different now. We have a DC in front of it, so it means we're going to be doing a double crochet increasing stitch. So that means that we're going to be doing 2 double crochet stitches in 1 stitch. So yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to be doing 2 single crochet stitches in here. So go ahead and do that. Yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, you have 2 left, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to put your hook into that same stitch we just used, and we're going to do our second double crochet stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, you have 2 left, then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Alright. So that's how you do a double crochet increasing stitch. Let me show you how to do this again. So yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochet stitches in this stitch. So yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, you have 2 left, so yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over, you're going to put your hook into that same stitch we just used. We're going to do another double crochet stitch, so yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So we have 2 double crochet stitches coming out of 1 stitch. Let's do this one more time with you guys. So yarn over, put your hook into the next stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochet stitches in this stitch here. Did I say double or single? We're going to do doubles. I can't tell, it's kind of late, I'm getting tired, but yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, you have 2 left, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, then yarn over, put your hook into that same stitch. We're going to do our second double crochet stitch, so yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops so you have 2 left, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So we have our single crochet stitch, a single stitch, and then we have 2 double crochet stitches coming out of that. Alright, so now that I've shown you how to do a double crochet increasing stitch, at least 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing a double crochet increasing stitch. But I'm going to move on to the next section. So for the next section, we go back to double crochet stitches. So go ahead and do that. Oops, I accidentally split my yarn. Okay. I split that really bad. It's like, I think it's kind of done now. Oops. Alright, and then the next section, we're going back to single crochet stitches. And then for the last one, we have a regular increasing stitch, and we know this because there aren't any other letters in front of there. So let's do that. And then you can always check your stitch count at the end of this round to make sure you have the right counts, but I'm going to be replacing the stitch marker. And then we're going to do round 3. So now for round 3, we have a new thing we're going to learn here, BLO, and that stands for back loop only. So earlier in the video, when we were learning how to do single crochet stitches, I pointed out that these were front and back loops. This is the front loop and this is the back loop. So we're just going to be putting our hooks into the back loop only, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to put our hook in between the braid here, and we're going to split it up. We're going to put our hook under the back loop only, which is this one right here. Okay. And then you can see that this front loop is left alone. So we can go ahead and do our single crochet stitch. And I'm going to show you how to do this again. So take the next stitch here. We have the 2 loops. We're only going to use the back loop only. So stick your hook in between that braid. We're going to slip the hook underneath the back loop only. You can see that the front loop is left alone. We're going to continue on to our single crochet stitch. And we're going to do one more with you guys. So stick your hook into the next stitch here. We're going to split the braid. We're going to put our hook into the back loop only. You can see the front loop is left alone. And we're going to finish our single crochet stitch. So now that I've shown you how to do back loop only 3 times step by step, you can rewind this video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing the back loop only. But I'm gonna pretty much finish the rest of this round. Just want you to pay attention to how it's looking like. So we have our normal stitches here, but in the front loop you can see that they're just left alone. So you're going to see a line all the way around. If you don't, you might have made a little mistake there. But the idea of back loop only is that it's going to have this natural bend of like a corner, and it's going to be very sharp. So we are doing the feet. You can only imagine what that's going to look like, but I'll show you what that looks like at the end of this round. But so I'm going to do the rest in silence. I mean, well, not so much. I'm just going to do the rest. So this is going to start curling inward, which is again natural. We are going to end up flipping this inside out at the end so that it's facing the right way. But in the meanwhile, you can continue with your single crochet stitches like this. Try not to make too much of the big loop because that's going to leave gaps in your project, and when you end up stuffing, it's going to look you know, not bad, but it's not going to look great. And this stain mark here, I have no idea what that is. It's kind of gruesome, but you can probably wash, you know, I definitely wash my projects after if it's washable. Like some of them from Five Below, the knitting ones have those stickers, so those ones don't really get washed after. But it's always good to delicate wash your projects so that they're nice and clean. Again, that's a manufacturing issue, and that was kind of gross. I have no idea. Someone was eating while they were working, I guess. But anyway. Okay. So now that I've reached the end of the line here, I'm going to replace my stitch marker under the last stitch we made, and I am going to flip this inside out. So take your foot and flip it inside out, and we're going to see that there's this natural fold because we use the back loop only. See how it's making a really nice sharp fold there? Alright, so now we can finish the rest of this. Let's see what we got going on. Alright, this is how much yarn I've left, so my paperweight's not really weighing it down. So for round 4, we're going to be introducing a new stitch. So let's go and do that. First, we're going to focus on the sections. The first sections, we have decreasing stitches, and these are going to be single crochet stitches because there are no letters in front. And also we're going to go back to using both front and back loops because there's no BLO in the beginning of the instruction. So go ahead and do your decreasing stitches. Again, if you need a refresher, you can rewind to that part of the video. But in this next section that we're doing, we're going to learn something new. So this one's going to be DC2TOG, and this stands for double crochet 2 together. And if you can imagine, this one is the same as a decreasing stitch, except we're going to be doing double crochet stitches instead of single. So DC double crochet stitch, we're going to be doing we're going to crochet 2 stitches together. Alright, so yarn over, stick your hook into the first stitch and the next stitch. So you got to do a little bit of twisting and manipulating. But we're going to yarn over, and you're going to pull through both loops that we stuck our hook in, and this is actually difficult. So alright, in fact we should probably I'm going to show you guys a different way to do this, but let's just continue with that. We're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through 2 loops, so you have 2 left, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So we pretty much did a double crochet stitches, and we took 2 stitches and crocheted them together. Now I kind of know why sometimes they have the front loops only on this, so let me show you how to do that because I think that's going to look better. Right now there's this huge bulge, and I don't like that. You can undo this one if you'd like, but I'm just going to move forward. So yarn over, we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to use the front loops only. That might make this bump smaller. It always depends on like the thickness of the yarn and how it behaves. This is kind of stiff and coarse feeling, so it's making a huge bump. So let's just use the front loops only. So stick your hook up underneath this stitch here, but we're only going to put our hook through the front loop only. See how we're splitting the braid and we're leaving the back loop alone. So just stick your hook up through the front loop only, and then we're going to go back into the next stitch, same situation, front loop only. So go up under the front loop only, split that braid. So now you have something like this. We're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 front loop onlys. Alright, you have 3 left on your hook there. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. So if you can see the difference, this is more kind of like a flush and this one is very bumpy. Alright, so let's do this one more time with you guys. We're going to yarn over and you're going to put your hook into the front loop only. So come up from underneath and split that braid. We're going to go up under the front loop only, like that. Then into the next stitch, front loop only. So come up under the braid and split those 2, put it in the front loop only. Then we're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through those 2 loops. Right, so you have 3 loops left. We're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. And because I kind of switched this up on you this time, let me just do this one more time with the front loops only. So yarn over into the next stitch, go up underneath it. We're going to split that braid and put the hook through the front loop only. Then into the next stitch, we're going to come up under the braid, split it. We're going to go through the front loop only. And then we're going to yarn over. You're going to pull through both of those loops. So you should have 3 left. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so now that you've seen how to do a double crochet 2 together 3 times step by step using front loop only, you can rewind this part of the video as many times as you need until you're comfortable doing the double crochet 2 together. But I'm going to go and finish the rest of the double crochet 2 together. What I just did though, that's actually called something different. It's a different name. But anyway, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just, it's nice, it's cleaner. Alright, so let's do this one more time. Oops, didn't do that right. Right, and then I'm going to move on to the last section here, and it's double crochet, decreasing stitches. Wait, are these double decrease? No, it's not. What row am I on? Get it together. Okay. We're going to be doing our decreasing stitches. We're going back to using both front and back loops, and then we're going to move on to the next round. Alright, replace the stitch marker. So for round 5, before we do round 5, because it's going to get small, let's go ahead and fill the foot. So whatever you put into this foot, before you put it in there, make sure you get the same amount of stuffing that way and set it aside. That way you have close to equal sized feet. If you fill this at once and then you decide, okay, I'll just eyeball it for the second one, it might not be the same. So this is one way to make sure that it's close to being the same size and same firmness and all that, you know. So I'm just gonna stuff this here. And this is going to be what's keeping Snoopy up, so it says to fill lightly, but I'm just going to fill it up till it's firm, so that when it's, you know, it won't topple over. It may topple over, but we're hoping for the best. Alright, so now that I tuck that in, getting some yarn here, and then we're going to work on round 5. We know what it looks like. It's decreasing stitches and single crochet stitches, of which we've already done. So go ahead and do that, and we'll look at the next round. Okay, and you'll notice as it's getting smaller, it's getting harder. Try to make your loops small, because as the project itself is getting smaller, it's going to have a tendency to want to pull on you, and it's going to make this loop pretty long. And if you do that, you're going to have gaps like this to where you can see the stuffing. So try to get that loop at the end there not so loose. So now that I finished that, I have 2 more rounds to go, and these ones are going to be fairly simple. We are doing single crochet stitches. It's just we're working, look at how small this opening is now, so it might be a little harder, and you want to try to avoid the stuffing, like I previously said before, because if you accidentally drag it outside your project, it just looks sloppy, and it's really hard to fix. Okay, last round, because this one was a repeat. Alright, so now I'm going to do a slip stitch. We've all done that, so you can go ahead and do that. Oh, it's getting a little messier. Okay, and then we're going to fasten off. So since this is such a small, look at this craziness. Since it's so small, I'm going to exaggerate wrapping around this twice to make sure that I have enough yarn to work with when I sew this to the body. And I'm going to fasten this off. Alright, pull this. Now I am going to try to fit in some of the stuffing in this leg, because there's nothing in here right now, and I'm afraid that when we put Snoopy's heavy body on it, it's just going to sink and you won't see leg. I don't know if it's gonna help, but I'm gonna try doing it anyway. So again, make sure you get the same amount of stuffing for the other foot. But I'm gonna try feeding this in. So again, I don't like stuffing when the hole is small, but in this case we have no choice. It's a leg and we do need to get this stuffing in there. So just try your best to just force this in there. And then I'm also going to try using the crochet hook as well to get this in there. Okay, you can use your hook to kind of tuck in the little pieces left over, and hopefully this all stays in the leg and doesn't sink in into the foot, but hopefully that stays strong enough to stay as a leg and doesn't sink in. Alright, so from here I'm going to be making the second leg off camera, and that's pretty much the last part of the body we have to do. When we come back, we're going to assemble everything and see what this Snoopy is looking like. Alright, so I finished all the parts. We are going to start assembling Snoopy. We're going to start off with the collar. Now it doesn't really say how to attach these things, so you just gotta play it by ear. This one just says to sew around the ends actually, so I'm just gonna do that. Try to tuck in that excess piece if you can. Okay, and then you can tie this off. I'm gonna figure out a way to tie a knot. I'm not a sewer, so if you know how to do this better, go ahead and do that. But to kind of hide this, I'm actually gonna go in near where it's coming up. I'm gonna go into Snoopy. One end, I'm gonna come out randomly out the other end. Pull on that. Then I'm going to cut this flush to the surface. And then we can just squeeze on this to make this disappear. Alright, so now we're good on that. Now that we have the collar on, we can attach the arms. So take one of the arms here, thread up the needle. Okay, and just by looking at the photo, it looks like it's going to be right up next to the collar here. So we're going to find the side and place it down on here. This is actually going to be flat, so stick my needle through there, and then we're going to go through a stitch on here, and then I'm just going to come back out here, and we're going to go through another stitch on the body, There's just this last stitch on the side here. I'm going to go through, stitch on the body. Now I want to tie my knot underneath the arm. I think that is just going to hide it better. So go through here to the underside of the arm. We're going to tie our knot. Okay, I'm going to go into the right next to where this knot is in one end, randomly out the other. Pull this all the way through. Cut it flush to the surface. You can squeeze this closed there. So that's one arm. We're going to do the other one, so grab the other arm. Thread the needle. Alright, so now you have to try to put it in like fairly the same spot. You want it to be symmetrical. And we're going to do the same thing here, so let's poke through this stitch. It's actually this stitch here. 2, 3, 4. Let's stick this right in here. And then I'm going to go through the next stitch over. Oh, I did it lower. Wait, did I do this in the right spot? Yeah, I did. Okay, then we're going to go around the next stitch on the body. And go through the last stitch on the arm. Then we're going to go on the underside here. We're going to tie our knot. Then put our needle right where it comes up, and then come out randomly on the other side. Pull it. We're going to cut this flush to the surface. Then you can squeeze this to hide it. So now we have both arms. Alright. So now we're going to do the legs. So grab a leg. And I don't think there's a front view or an angle view on Snoopy here, which is a little disappointing. So we have to figure out where we're going to place the legs. So I'm guessing we just fit them outside this first round here. That's what I'm guessing. So let's do that now. Okay, I'm gonna go tie my knot. Stick this through one end, randomly out the other. Cut it flush. Squeeze it. I don't know if this is going to stand on its own. I think the legs are a little flimsy. Alright, same thing with this one. We're going to try to sew this outside that round one. Try to make it even. Tie your knot. Go in where it comes out. And up in one end, out the other. Some random, doesn't matter where. Pull it. Cut it flush to the surface. You can squeeze to hide that. Alright, so our last piece is going to be, wow, these feet look freaking huge. Our last piece is going to be the tail. And I have to eyeball that too. So if this is the side view, looks like we're looking at something down here. Try to get this to the center. Okay, once you're back around, we're going to tie our knot. Then we're going to stick this where it comes up and out randomly another spot. Pull on it. Oh. cut it flush. Squeeze it. I'm just gonna see out of curiosity if I can make this stand. It's too tall to do it under this camera, so let me just, oh, I think it wants to stand, but the nose, it's a little top heavy. Let's see. Yeah, I think no dice. Too top heavy. Anyway, here is our Snoopy, you guys. Side profile. Might just leave it at a side profile. Comment below, let me know what you think. Click that like button if you think Snoopy came out pretty cute. Click that like button if you intend on making this Snoopy yourself. But I'm glad I was able to fit this in 2 videos. It might be longer than 2 hours. I haven't been keeping track. At any rate, you guys, I did get some kits from Hobby Lobby, so I am gonna kind of squeeze those into my list because I have not done those yet, and I'm kind of excited to work on them. So at any rate, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Hooked on Needles and Crafts. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.